are three parts that we're going to break down to this riff here. You've got this really kind of like dark rhythm, kind of like a darker 80s metal style. And then we've got the little riff with the pinch harmonics, those little squeals in there. And then we've got a harmony part to that as well. So I'm going to break all three of these down in detail for you. So that first part, like this right here. Okay, that'll be part one, and then we'll go into the little riff with the squeal. It goes like this. And then part three, there will be a harmonizing part that we play along with that. Let's break that first part down, okay? Pretty simple rhythm for the most part. We're basing this on an A power chord. I'm in the key of A minor, and we are in standard tuning. So again, it's like this. Okay, and then we go into the riff, which we'll save that for the next part here. But let's break this down. We're on the A power chord. We strike that, and then, of course, we're palm muting that open A string. And I'll throw the tabs up when we go through this section here, or after we go through this rather. I'll play through the whole thing slowly, and you'll have the tabs on screen as well. But let's break down these chords. We're using what I like to call anyway a variation of power chords, and you've heard me say this like a broken record on my channel and in my lessons. I love to play around with that second note of a power chord and just switch it and just change the finger configuration, right? Keeping that root note but changing that second note. You just come up with all kind of cool stuff. Essentially, we're starting out with just another A power chord. So if we're to play the A power chord here and here, okay, and that's basically what we're going to. However, I'm changing, again, that second note of the power chord. So we're on the D and the G strings, frets 7 and 9. Well, that second note, I'm going to move that to the 5th fret of the G string. So we're going to just change the finger configuration altogether. And that just adds a cool flavor. So instead of this, play that. And that little thing there is not part of the riff, but again, that's just venturing out. When you start playing around with the stuff, you start coming up with stuff, and it's like, whoa, okay. And I want you guys to soak this in, soak in that changing of the second note, and just take off with it, okay? Now, from there, we're going to play a variation of what would be a G power chord. So we're going to move, again, same strings, D and G. We're going to move that frets 7 and 5 to 5 and 4. Okay, so it's going to go like this. Now, the last chord that we're going to play in this section here in part 1 is going to be a variation of the F power chord, which is going to sound like this. I love that chord, by the way. Like this one here. Again, there we go off on a tangent. Let's focus, Jason. Again, you could just keep writing and writing and writing. But what we're playing here are going to be same strings, frets 3 and 4, and then we'll go 3 and 5. So we kind of play the variation and go to a regular power chord and then back. So like... Alright, so now let's throw up the tabs. I'm going to play through just this part slowly, okay? And I'll kind of keep it, the loop going over and over without going to the riff, because we'll cover the riffs coming up next. But let's just play along with that. One quick note before we move to part two, which is the riff with the little squeals there. You might notice as I'm changing from one chord to another and going like from the variation of the F power chord, for example, back to the palm muting of the A string there, I might just let off the strings and might not even play anything, but you'll hear like I like to call these little nuances. They're just these little details that I don't really plan out. And I want you to give yourself the freedom to do things like this and not always have to say, well, I got to play exactly what you're playing there. I got to figure out exactly what that guitar player is doing. Just understand that there will be little nuances here as you transition throughout, the chords and notes and from one riff to another, and allow yourself the freedom to explore those little nuances. For example, did you hear what I did there? I just kind of pulled off all the strings. Okay, and it might sound a little different each time I do that. Again, I just want you to give yourself the freedom to explore different ways of going from one chord to another and having these little nuances, because I believe this is really what helps make up your personal style and sound. And you guys know I'm big on you developing your own sound, right? Your own style, not necessarily mine or that guitar player or that guitar player, because you've got your own style within you. So give yourself the freedom to explore. All right, part two is this. Okay, pretty simple lick for the most part. We're going to be starting out on the G string and we're going to go all the way down to the E string, okay? And what I'm doing here is I'm playing that fourth fret of the G string, and I'm going to bend it up as I'm getting that little pinch harmonic. Now, real quick, so the way I do pinch harmonics, first of all, this is how I hold my pick. I've got two fingers here. I've got a thumb back there. And I'm not saying you have to hold your pick this way, because a lot of people hold it like that or whatever way. I tried different ways over the decades of me playing guitar. This works for me, okay? It might not work for you, and just be okay with that. Doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It just means, well, this works for me, and something different might work for you instead, and that's okay. In any case, though, what I'm doing is I'm hitting the string with a combination of the pick and my thumb. And that's how we're getting that little squeal there, okay? As I pluck the string, I'm making my thumb hit that string as well, just almost simultaneously with the finger there, okay, if that makes sense. Now, I have an entire video on pinch harmonics for beginners, so I'll put that video in the description of this video here. So if this is something that you struggle with, or something that's like, okay, sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't, please go watch that video after you finish this one. For now, just get the notes down, but I'll have that in the description of this video here. So in any case, we're doing this. Okay, and I'm not going to pretend I nail the pinch harmonic like I want to every single time. I don't know that anyone does, unless your name is Zach Wild, right? So in any case, we're bending up though from the fourth fret. We're bending up like a half step there, okay? So instead of me calling out the frets, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play through this slow. Because I'm going slow, I might not nail the pinch harmonics, so forgive me. But I'm going to put the tabs up here as I play through this part, okay? So we'll play through it a couple of times, and then we'll kind of go back to normal speed after that. So just follow along. Now, even cooler is part 3. We're going to harmonize with that. So let you just hear the guitars alone real quick, okay? Pretty cool. So again, the one guitar is doing this. The other guitar is doing this, and we'll break this down. So what I'm doing here, and I talked about this a couple of videos ago, is I'm just harmonizing by playing the third note above what we just played before. And I've got another video on how to figure that out, so I'll link to that video in the description here as well. So I encourage you to go back and watch that video too, and how to figure out the harmony parts. I don't want to get into that in this video because, again, I've got it covered in that video. That'll be in the description. But what we're doing here is we're on the same strings. We're starting out on the G string, okay? And we try to get the pinch harmonics on this as well. Sometimes what I've figured out is that the pinch harmonics sound, they're easier to come by on some notes and some frets throughout the fretboard than others. But we're on the 7th string, okay? And we're gonna bend that up a whole step. Because this here, okay, these notes, the harmonies are, okay, again, check that video out on how I come up with harmonies. That will be in the description. So don't forget to watch that after this video, after you finish this. But basically we're going from, from the G string all the way back to the E string, harmonizing, okay, with those initial notes. Okay, so like we did before, I'm going to play this very slowly, and I'll throw the tabs up on screen here for you. So let's go over that. Guys, it is time for our guitar chat, but first, if you do not have my free metal guitar practice guide, Metal Riffs and Licks, grab a copy of that. I give that guide away to all of my YouTube subscribers, my way of saying thank you for all the support. And this guide has literally helped thousands of metal guitar players, so grab a copy of that. There's a link in the description. The first thing I want to cover in our guitar chat here is how I record my harmonies. And I've shared this on other videos before, but let me just share it again. It's very simple. What I do is I record one track, okay, and I do the same thing with rhythms, whether they're harmonizing or not, but I record one guitar track, then I hard pan that track all the way to the left. After that, I open a new track up and I'll immediately pan that all the way to the right, and I'll start recording. So a couple of reasons why I do it this way. Number one, well, that's how I want my mix to be, because two guitars, like panned, whether you hard pan them or pan them 70-80%, I don't know how much that matters. I like to hard pan them for the most part, but it just gives this like true stereo sound. And even when the guitars are playing the same thing, you still get these tiny little nuances along the way, I mean, they're not going to be perfectly aligned, so it gives you this lively feel, in my opinion. And of course, when you go to harmonize, well, you can really hear those harmonies shine, whereas if you have them straight up the middle, it just, I don't know, to me, it just doesn't sound as good, near as good as when you hard pan them. So I just wanted to share that tip. I know I've shared this before, but sometimes people are coming onto my channel for the first time and might be seeing this video, so I want you guys to have that, and I hope that helps you. Now, going back to what I talked about earlier about making this riff your own, you guys know I'm huge on this. I'm huge on not trying to do something exactly the way somebody else does it. These lessons are just for you, not only to learn, but to also build and develop your own style of playing. Okay, so you take my riff, and then immediately I want you to start doing some other stuff with it. Remember the little nuances I talked about when you're changing chords? Well, just play around, like what feels right to you. Like when you're going from one chord to another, or from one part of a song, or like chorus to verse or to bridge or whatever, what are some things you can throw in there that just sound cool to you? Try different things. Give yourself that freedom to venture out, because this is how you build your own style and sound. Now, by the way, the tone you heard in this video, you guys probably already guessed it. It's actually the amp knob. It's the BDH amp knob. They're modeled. I don't know if they're modeled after, but they're kind of like going after that 5150 EVH tone, which I absolutely love. I've been working with Bogner Digital a little now, so I've got a video on exactly the amp knob series that I'm using right up there, so go check that out. Again, I talked about pinch harmonics earlier. If that's something you struggle with, I'll throw that video up there for you as well. And if you want to check out my last lesson, I'll put that down there somewhere. That's the one I put out right before this one. So guys, thank you so much for watching my channel. I appreciate you. Until next time, keep it metal and keep playing music.